This video is going to be about somebody I know who also went through the cash for kids system abuse. And somewhat still is, but now it's not because of their current guardian. It's still leftover stuff from the whole situation with their old abuser who ended up dying. After their old abuser OD'd, the cash for kids system branch that I even met them in and that played a part in a lot of their abuse started trying to play hero and decided to give her court-mandated therapy, quote-unquote. Really messed up situation, but anyway, so this girl was mentioned, at least in the thumbnail, and maybe actually in like 2 other videos I recently made, where I was talking about this boy I met who used to be on ADHD psychotropics some years back and it messed up his stomach lining, and now he has what would be called gut permeability. Sometimes I say permeability, but I don't think it's permeability. But it's also called leaky gut. And I've told him about how he could work on like trying to heal that on his own, because I mean, of course, mainstream doctors, they don't even believe in all that stuff anyway. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned this girl in that video, but I do know that I used some of her messages for a thumbnail of that one and the part 1 about this boy and the whole thing with the shelter serving pasta every day, even though he can't eat pasta. Honestly, I feel like a lot of people can't, but we just eat it anyway because they really do give that out every single day. But anywho, so I can't even really remember if she stopped or if she was let off the drugs before or after her mom had died. But I know, at least I think, her mom wasn't always all that adamant about really forcing her on the drugs. She just wanted to like use the cash for kids system to her advantage to punish her daughter whenever she felt mad about stuff. And that's how it commonly is, because like in the placement I met this girl, most of the people in there got thrown in there every other week, every time their parent got mad about something. Like one girl, she was like, last time I got put in here is because I didn't wash the dishes. And I'm not even gonna lie, that sounds like something my mom would do. But that's how these systems make their money. But that's not the point though. The point is, I think I may have told her, that her being this girl, that she should start some protocol to try to stop any permanent effects in their tracks, but I can't really remember, because I mean, I didn't even really full-blown accept the fact that I was even chronically ill till like after leaving and getting out all the gaslighting, where I could really stop for a second and take a look at all my symptoms. And I'm talking about the pain, not even like the visible parts. Like, I mean, sure, there's the fact that I've been like, I dropped down to 80 pounds at 14 after losing the metabolic syndrome weight. But the real big issue was all the stuff that kicked in at 15, because I always say that 15 is when the constant pain started and all that. Which I also now know, other than the iatrogenic effects from all the drugs I was forced on at mid-12 to early 14, the other half of why I really, really got sick was because of mold toxicity, which the mold toxicity only even affected me the way it did because of the fact that my gut lining and my colon and stuff was already messed up from the drugs, and my immune system was already messed up, and a whole bunch of other things. So yeah, I'm not even really sure when I really started telling her, but I know I told her that she should do some type of protocol to stop all permanent effects that could happen from the drugs from happening. And so sometimes she wonders if like her health issues are just because of anxiety, because due to the fact that her mom overdosed, and then of course the cash for kids system placement I met her in tried to like jump in and play hero, they made her have court mandated therapy, which is so funny to me because the therapist would always quit every 2 weeks and then she would have to get another one or wait for another one. So that's hilarious to me that they try to do that to keep making money off of her. Yet when she was in her abuse situation before her mom OD'd, they kept trying to gaslight her and beat it into her head that she was just, I don't know, like a spoiled brat or something. Because that's what they do. They beat it in your head that you're just bad, crazy, and slow to try to drive you crazy. But anyway, the therapist there has, well, no, I gotta start before that actually. Before this current or last couple of therapists. So I remember before her mom even died, I'm pretty sure, when she was when she was let off the psychotropics, what happened was she of course started losing the metabolic syndrome weight. In fact, I go over her and me and some other person in a video I made about the psychotropics and how they give you metabolic syndrome / diabetic weight. And that wasn't even the worst side effect either. The metabolic syndrome and the heart issues it gives you, that was honestly the last thing to worry about, at least for me. But yeah, so when she started losing the metabolic syndrome weight, which is automatically going to happen when you get off the drugs, unless maybe you got on them when you're like older, and then you just get stuck with the diabetes or whatever, which that could still happen either way. But it looks like from what I've seen that if younger people are let off the drugs earlier, they can still lose the metabolic syndrome / diabetes that they get from the drugs messing up, from the drugs turning off neurotransmitters that make the body work and killing off the liver and thyroid and all those other cells and the pancreas. So when she lost the diabetic / metabolic syndrome weight, I remember she was telling me about how just like she had got insults when she was obese, she was still hearing little bullcrap from people, abusive relatives. The school is always there to try to add to your trauma, but that's a whole nother topic. But also the mental health professionals at this place, which is also the place that we met at. So the therapist and the nurse there, when she would have to go for her check-ins every couple of months, they tried to have like some talk with her and asking her about whether she just had an ED and asking her about all the weight that she was losing. And that's a really scary situation. I don't know if she like sees the situation the same way I do, but I remember when I started to lose the metabolic syndrome weight and then when I became chronically ill because of the different effects of the drugs and I wasn't even able to gain muscle or fat anymore because, for one, what I now know is that I couldn't even digest food anymore. I was terrified of being accused of having an ED and then locked up somewhere and thrown and forced and forced on feeding tubes for a quote-unquote ED I didn't even have because, one, I lost the metabolic syndrome weight, and two, I couldn't even gain weight anymore, and plus, due to how the drugs and I'm sure even the mold toxicity had messed up, the mold toxicity messed up my intestines more. I couldn't even digest food, and eating anything hurt, like even drinking hurt. If I drank a soda, I would be in pain for the rest of the day, unable to even stand up because I would get cramping and bloating, and the cramping would be in my lower left or lower right side, and I literally wouldn't even be able to stand up. I'd be bent over. And the thing is, mainstream doctors, they already don't care, but also they don't really know that much about that much stuff. And of course, when it comes to psychotropic side effects and the permanent effects of those drugs, it's something that nobody wants to talk about anyway. Ever. No one ever wants to talk about it. So they leave a whole bunch of kids and adults chronically ill or straight up dead. And then it's hard to really find any information on it except from like a couple social media pages from ex-psychiatrists and stuff like that. But other than that, no one will really talk about it. which I have a video where I like go over this biology book and actually break down a little bit of how psychotropics set you up to become chronically ill. And I may have mentioned this in the video about the psychotropic side effect of the obesity or the metabolic syndrome / diabetes, but due to the insults that she was getting from abusive relatives and other people when she was obese and still had the metabolic syndrome / diabetes when she was still on the drugs, she kind of did somewhat go into an ED, but the thing is, she was also really poor, so she didn't even have food at home anyway. So she really didn't get to eat that much, rarely, because her mom couldn't afford food. And so she was already commonly going days without eating. But the thing is, the way the metabolic syndrome / diabetes works when it comes to psychotropics is that you get obese regardless because the drugs really mess up how your body processes glucose and really anything. Like, honestly, to be truthfully honest, of course now like I am, like really, I have been really underweight for my age and height, but still though, I was pretty small a lot throughout my life, and when I had the metabolic syndrome / diabetes, that was the biggest I had ever been in my life, to be honest. So, yeah, anyway, what point was I getting at? So she wasn't eating then, that's my point. She already wasn't eating then, but the thing is, you're going to lose the metabolic syndrome weight regardless once you get off the drugs. And so she still does, like, have an ED, and it's like, she says she goes in cycles with it because of, like, different traumatic things that have happened, but of course, the different insults she's gotten when she was obese and even now, since losing the metabolic syndrome weight. And the thing is, though, some of the symptoms that she describes sound just like the ones that I started to get when I really, really started to get sick. I don't know if she ever had the turn off the bowel side effect. It does sound like she probably did, and probably still has like some leftover issues from that. I don't know. I always have mucus buildup when I start recording. And I think another funny thing is that for the people who are in these cash for kids system and drug and abuse situations, it seems like we commonly are in situations where we're not getting to eat enough anyway, and it just adds to the issues as well. Especially when it comes to like, how do I explain it? Like with withdrawal from any other drug. If you can get enough nutrients that you need, you could not have withdrawal. But like for people like me and her, due to the situations we were in, we already weren't like eating, 2,000 plus calories a day. And so I feel like that probably did make the effects of the drugs worse for us. But I don't know. I really hope this is making sense. But it's still a really risky situation because the thing is, like I keep saying, it's not even about how much food she has or really what she is or isn't eating, because the thing is, you're gonna lose the metabolic syndrome weight regardless. So she shouldn't be getting accusations of starving herself for months and all of that stuff because she lost the metabolic syndrome weight that she would have lost anyway from getting off the drugs, because she wasn't eating jack diddly when she was on the drugs because her mom couldn't even afford food. So she was eating less when she was obese. And the whole situation just really makes me mad, but also worried for her, because the thing is, if she really is developing, or seems like already has, the issues that I got from the drugs, and she really can't digest food anymore, and getting gut permeability or leaky gut or permeability, whatever it's called, that's kind of automatic, as well as plenty of other issues that the drugs are going to leave you with. But if she really is getting those issues and she can't digest food, the last thing she needs is a whole bunch of people giving her panic attacks, which she said that's what's happening. People making her have panic attacks by telling her that she's gonna pass out and die because she's losing weight. And the thing is, she's not even underweight. She's still normal size, but of course, just like what happened to me, if she really is getting sick, the weight will keep dropping over time. Although, I don't know. As long as it's been and she hasn't dropped down to 80 pounds yet, I think she might be good if people could stop giving her all these different narratives and fear tactics. But the thing is, if she really is getting to like the point, which it seems like if she is, she probably is already there, where she really just can't digest food because of the leftover intestinal and brain damage and all those issues from the drugs, then that's something that she would have to work on her own. No mainstream doctor definitely is gonna even think or know what to do about that. And they're probably just gonna do a whole bunch of gaslighty stuff and not even want to do testing anyway. And I already know how doctors are. They're just gaslighting in general. You can't, I mean, if you needed a vitamin panel, you can't even get them to do that. So, yeah. It just makes me really worried though, because I really don't want her being locked up somewhere over some bull crap that really isn't her fault. And the thing is, all the different bull crap that people are saying to her, that'll give anybody ED. It'll make anybody want to like eat a lot sometimes and not eat other times, or not eat enough other times. Because I remember, like, when I was getting told the bullcrap from the doctors before I even really knew, well, this was way before I knew that I actually couldn't even digest food and I couldn't digest fat, and that's what causes the pale colored stool and all that stuff. Back then, when I was still in, like, the medical gaslighting, and the doctors were telling, well, the doctors, they of course already knew that I wasn't in an Munchausen type situation as well as other things, so their end conclusion was that I was just being starved at home, which I talk about this in my health playlist. I'm pretty much just going over different things that have happened with medical gaslighting and talking about the plan I've been putting together to fix my chronic health issues. Which diet really does matter. I really do need to do like 50 carnivore, 50 fruit or something. And the reason I said 50 fruit is because my blood sugar drops really easily. That's a funny story behind that, but if I'm not eating something with sugar in it, my legs are gonna go numb and things are gonna go real left. So that's why I say that, but I need more protein and fat anyway. But yeah, so what was I saying? I don't even know. And this reminds me of something that I was telling her. I was telling her that one of her advantages that she could try to use, like real soon as possible before things get worse, is that she has a fridge and a stove and a house and all that. So she should probably go ahead and start like, I don't know, at least, 10% carnivore or something like that. Because it could really help her out a lot. Especially if she really is at the point where she can't digest food. And if you do have enough stomach acid for it and you can digest fat, or you can just get HCl plus pepsin and some digestive enzymes, meat is actually easier for you to digest if you have screwed up health. And I know like the vegan people are trying to say otherwise, but the thing is, when you have issues going on like me, and it seems like she definitely has going on, she won't go too much detail, but it does seem like she's having some of the same symptoms that I had when I really started to get sick. So if you have health issues going on like me, her, and whoever else, the thing is, you can't digest fruits or vegetables. And depending on what all is actually going on the inside of you, it may even be getting stuck to like ulcers or some other sores or whatever if you have any. So yeah, like before I started taking the HCl, I would crap out strawberries. I couldn't even digest strawberries or anything. So what was I getting at? Oh yeah, meat is better. The thing that may actually be hurting you though, unless you just don't have enough stomach acid, which if you don't have enough stomach acid, anything will hurt. Like the difference when I took the HCL compared to like before I was taking HCL and before I really had even accepted that things were what they were, drinking would even hurt. Drinking anything. Like if I drunk, oh I forgot I'm not recording. I forgot. I was about to aim my phone at this Capri Sun, but if I drank a Capri Sun, that would have hurt. Definitely milk will hurt because you need stomach acid to digest milk. You also need stomach acid to take in, what is that, calcium. I mean, you need stomach acid to take in any vitamins and nutrients. So yeah, if meat does hurt for you, then you probably have low stomach acid. Or it's not even the meat, it's the oils. Like something that I notice is that when I eat meat that isn't cooked in like oils, I could eat that even without the HCL and it won't burn. But I noticed that things that are more acidic, I definitely need like HCL for it. I used to need HCL for apples too, but that's gotten better actually. Like I couldn't even eat an apple without HCL. That would burn. Bananas would burn. Mustard and ketchup would burn. I mean, yeah. What else was it? Mayonnaise burnt too. But like I said, at one point, literally eating or drinking anything would hurt. Like, I don't even know how in the world, but water would have me uh, in pain. And I don't know why. I know for a fact that water shouldn't need HCl, but for whatever reason, that hurt too. And what point am I getting at? But yeah, I just really worry for her though, because what she has going on sounds like one of my worst fears. I was terrified of somebody trying to drag me along as if like I just had an ED and wasn't like sick. And the thing is, if you put somebody that has this type of stuff going on a feeding tube, it won't change anything, I don't think. Unless like maybe you're putting food into the bloodstream, if that's even a thing. I don't know. Is that how that works? I doubt it. Pretty sure the tube goes in the stomach. So yeah, that wouldn't change anything because they can't digest anything. That would honestly just make things worse and cause more stress and trauma, obviously. And it's like, I don't even know. It's all really messed up. It's just so much of sick people running this stuff, of course. And then I really hate the fact that people are whispering all these different things into her ears that are giving her panic attacks about her health, like her being told that she's at risk of just having a stroke and dying because she's losing weight. And I'm glad nobody's ever said any junk like that to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, people are really throwing fear tactics into her head, and it's like, oh man. And then in one of the messages, she mentions that the doctor just tried to tell her that it was what she was eating. Like, I'm surprised she even got referred to a gastro. I couldn't get referred jack to do jack or get jack testing. But the thing is, though, mainstream doctors are never gonna like test anybody for stomach acid levels or any of that anyway. Like, you can't even get a test for pancreatic function or any of those things. Although one thing that I did find useful that I found out about some months back is that you can order your own test off of Quest and LabCorp. I mean, I doubt that those really test for some of the things that I mentioned, but they do test for like a good amount of things. And if you actually know enough about biology and health, you can know what tests you need to order to try to figure out certain things. But where the issues come in is if you actually have the money for that. Also, whether you're 18 plus or not. But if you can get your parents to order it, then that's good. But the age thing, honestly, you could get around that. You could lie. They didn't even check ID when I went in there. So yeah, you could lie. But anywho, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and she told me about different things that happen, like with school teachers when she was able to go to school that have mentioned the fact that they used to have EDs and that they were 78 pounds in the ninth grade, and it's like 78 pounds though. But I can't even be talking. But the thing is though, it wasn't because of ED for me, it was because of the health issues, and it's like something that annoys me though is that when you're a girl and you like have stuff like this going on, people are always going to assume that you have an ED and you're starving yourself because you're on drugs or something, and a whole bunch of weird stuff. And of course, if you have a mental label, people are automatically going to assume that you're just starving yourself because you're retarded or something. That kind of reminds me of how things went back when that missing persons report was put out those few years back, and people were like, nobody sees anything wrong with a 80-pound 16-year-old. But the thing is, if there's a mental label in there, which I don't even remember what all was in there. It was a bunch of bull. I ran out of recording time. But if people see a mental label, they're not going to think anything. Well, people don't care anyway, regardless. But once people see a mental label, they're going to automatically assume that you're just starving yourself because you're retarded or crazy or something. So that's how those things go. But I doubt anybody would really care regardless. But yeah, so I do worry about the situation with her though. That's why I really feel like she should like really look into her symptoms, because if she isn't able to digest food and she really does have low stomach acid, which would make sense because I mean that's the stuff that these drugs cause, she should start working on that now. Because the thing is, things may not be too late, especially because she's not like underweight yet. She's still not underweight. She definitely has gotten a lot smaller from like since she initially started losing the metabolic syndrome weight, but she's still not underweight. In fact, she's still not anywhere really near underweight, to be honest. But it's like, I mean, when she had the diabetes, she was just overweight for so long. That's how people are used to seeing her. So now, yeah, anywho, but yeah, so what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, so with all these things that people are making up in their head about her, and all these things that people are whispering into her ears and scaring her and their selves. Well, I can't even say their selves because none of these people ever gave a crap anyway. But scaring her, she should really start working on that now. So that way, just in case this does keep going downhill, or this could keep going downhill, she could try to like stop these issues in their tracks and go ahead and get back to being able to digest food, so she can keep some weight and stop dropping down, especially before things get really, really bad. Because also, with the accusations that people are already making around her and, well, towards, does that make sense, making accusations towards? I don't know. I don't even know how else to say it. I'm just really worried because I really don't want her locked up somewhere on some bull crap. In fact, I remember at one point in time when I had to turn out the bowel side effects at 12, this one really abusive doctor, I don't even know what she was. It's kind of a repressed memory, but I know she was a doctor. This was when I had the diabetic / metabolic syndrome weight too, so I was obese then. She actually tried to like manipulate me into feeling like I just had ED then while I still was obese. And she was trying to convince me and my relatives that the turn off the bowel side effect didn't matter, even though I could have died from that. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm really sick the way I am now. Because, and I'll just say that after this. But she just tried to act like I just had ED, and me worrying about my bowels being turned off and the neurotransmitters that make my bowels work was just fear of weight gain. And it's like, what in the world? If I fear weight gain, it's a little too late for that. It was a little too late to start fearing it then. But yeah, these people are sick though. And it's like, I mean, really, your bowels being turned off literally can cause SIBO to backtrack up from your colon, which I have a video about this. It can lead to stomach and colon cancer. In fact, a lot of the different side effects that these drugs cause can give you stomach and colon cancer. But a lot of bacteria builds up. You can become sepsis or septic, whatever it's called. Your bowels can burst. That's really common. But of course, when people's bowels do end up bursting from this side effect, they blame it on other things like a stroke from quote unquote heart failure and diabetes, even though the heart failure and diabetes, that's a side effect too. But yeah, she really tried to tell me that uh, the issue around the constipation and my bowel impaction being so bad to where I looked pregnant was fear of weight gain. But yeah, they were trying to kill me. But that's what they do to people, though. And the reason I mentioned that, though, is because it's really funny, though. It's funny that I was accused of having an ED then, but I wasn't when I started to get sick. But I'm glad I wasn't, though, because, that's a really risky situation. I'm not even gonna lie. And I may have forgot to mention this, but a lot of people do end up with colon cancer, stomach cancer, uh, POTS, MCAS, all those other things like that. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, Crohn's. Well, IBD in general. People commonly end up with that from psychotropics. And turn out the bowel side effect is definitely nothing to play with, but then they want to try to manipulate you about it by telling you to take every type of laxative there is, which they really don't do anything because, I mean, when the neurotransmitters that literally make your bowels work are turned off, laxatives can only do but so much, if anything. And in my video where I break down how these drugs set you up to become chronically ill, I actually show a picture in the thumbnail about how using a lot of laxatives can give you melanosis of the colon. They were trying to make it seem like there was nothing risky about literally drinking half a bottle of milk of magnesia and castor oil and hundreds of other things every day. They were trying to make it seem like that was okay, but that actually tears up your colon even more. Like, I remember in the videos, I don't even know if I still have these, but the videos where I talk about the drug side effects, I list off all the different laxatives that I was told to try, and I was even commonly told to do 30-day bowel cleanouts, which they didn't work at all, of course. So, how did it go? Like, Gatorade and it wasn't milk and magnesia because that's the liquid. Oh yeah, Gatorade and Miralax, or a water bottle and Miralax, and you take like a couple of those every day for 30 days. And it's like the more I look back on this, the more I understand why in the world my health is the way it is now. And I just don't want this for her. I really don't want her gaslit and locked up somewhere because these people have destroyed her health and are still whispering scary little stories in her ears that are doing nothing but making things worse for the quote unquote ED they're claiming is causing her issues. But yeah. So this is gonna be the statement before last. So going back to the whole starved at home accusation, if that really had anything to do with Jack, my siblings would have also been severely underweight and having the same issues I had. The mold toxicity and the stress definitely did have everybody sounding like Joe Biden. But one thing I can say though is that I definitely got the most sick off the mold toxicity because I was having all those pelvic floor issues and stuff. Which now, from what I know, is that whenever I do start having those little weird muscle spasmy bullcrap symptoms, I just need to take a binder. And it's like, I swear, I wish I would have knew that then. That could have saved me from limping and barely being able to walk and crazy amounts of pain. Like, if I would have known that what I had then was mold toxicity and that was what was causing my pelvic pain, and that all I had to do was take a capsule of activated charcoal, like, it's honestly so annoying how the medical systems are, though. I'm not even gonna lie. Because it's like, if it wasn't the way it was, it could save people so much pain and suffering for no reason. Like, really, though, all I had to do was take some activated charcoal. But yeah, anyway, the reason that it affected me the worst, other than like a lot of stuff to do with stress, which everybody was stressed, is because I had already been on drugs that literally tore down my intestinal lining, had already screwed up my immune system. Like, another thing I want to say that I actually forgot about, it's funny how when you're on the drugs and you have all these symptoms and your blood work is coming back crazy, they never say anything then or accuse you. Well, they usually don't accuse you of having an ED or anything then. Because, like, when I initially started having, okay, wait a minute, I always had low iron and up until now. So now I kind of feel like maybe it just has something to do with, like, me not eating enough leafy greens, because I eat them more now. And I kind of feel like maybe that's why I always had low iron. But I always had that. But when I started taking the drugs, I had, what was that thing called again? Oh yeah, I had low hemoglobin. My hemoglobin levels were always messed up. I had low white blood cell count, and I had low red blood cell count. I was always anemic. Like, I remember, and I mentioned this before, I remember when my mom would get me locked up in places that were more so like hospitals, and they actually had IVs and all that, I would literally have to spend hours on IVs getting water and blood. Like, I would literally have to get a blood transfusion every time I got locked up in a place that was more so a hospital setting and actually even had those things. And it's like, I'm sure with the symptoms that she has going on and the things that people are saying to her, like the nurses and stuff at that cash for kids system placement, that her blood work is similar. But the thing is, your blood work looks like this too when you're on the drugs. So before you get off and your health starts tumbling downhill, your blood work looks bad then too. But it's like when you start losing the metabolic syndrome weight, then people enact like all of a sudden now your blood work coming back crazy and showing signs that I guess could be associated with malnutrition is an issue. Which, I mean, it makes sense if you can't digest food that you would be malnourished. But it's like the mental health system branch of the cash for kids system will never acknowledge how screwed up your health is while you're on the drugs. And they're what screws up your health anyway. Did I say that right? I think so. What was the other thing I had to say? Okay, somewhere way back I started the sentence, but I definitely went off into something else because I know for a fact I never said this part. But going back to the medical gaslighting and the whole starved at home thing, and the situation with this girl and her being told she had ED and all that stuff, which, I mean, I had abusers try to bash similar things into my head, although luckily I never had a medical professional say this. In fact, funny thing is, in the My Health playlist, I mentioned how back when I was in my situation, the doctors, or at least the ones in GA, the ones in NC never said jack about jack, but the doctors in GA felt like I was being starved at home. But where I stay now, they're beating it into my head that they don't believe I'm malnourished or was ever malnourished, and they don't know and they want to know who was telling me those things. And one doctor even said that they just think that maybe the old doctors just thought I was skinny or something. But yeah, bullcrap. Anywho, so I had a similar situation to this girl when it comes to the whole eating accusations. So when I was still believing all the gaslighting, and didn't actually realize how sick I was. And yeah, so then during that, I wouldn't say I went in cycles. I was never starving myself, but I mean, that's something that people don't understand though. When eating hurts and you're literally in so much pain you can't do anything really, it can make eating hard, but that's something I gotta talk about too. But that's gonna have to be another video. But I fell into the whole just trying to make sure you eat enough calories thing and all that bull crap. And it's like when you can't even digest food, none of that matters. And I fell into that same thing that people are pushing her into, and it just makes me mad. I was like trying to make sure that I was quote unquote eating more peanut butter. Peanut butter that's terrible, especially when you already have mold toxicity. But I was trying to like drink more milk and do all that different bull crap that they say do. But when you have these types of issues going on, that stuff actually makes everything worse. In fact, if you're able to do a diet and you're in a situation like this, I would say probably go ahead and like try to focus on eating more meat and not eating seed oils now. Don't listen to all this bull crap that people are telling you about eating more peanut butter and drinking more milk. Don't drink milk. Don't eat dairy or gluten or any grains actually. So no corn. Honestly, you should never eat corn anyway. People can't even digest corn. But it's all really annoying. And what's the other thing I was saying? Oh yeah, so the other thing I was saying, people don't actually seem to understand how hard it is when you're hungry and you want to eat, but you can't digest food and it hurts so bad eating anything. Or even if it's not even that you can't digest food, but maybe you have an ulcer or something, or just the leaky gut is hurting you. People seem to not understand that when you're literally trying to force food down, but you can't because it hurts, or because of your health issues, you just end up throwing it up, or it all comes out in diarrhea or bloody diarrhea. That's another thing I want to say. That'll be the last thing I talk about. But yeah, so like when you already can't digest food, you're not getting the nutrients and stuff that you need, so you're going to be really hungry. And I don't think people understand the feeling of being really hungry but barely being able to eat. Like I remember back when I really started to get sick, I would be so hungry and I would be trying to eat a bowl of cereal, but it would cause me so much pain. I would either have to lay down on my back to eat anything because, like I said before, the only thing that actually helps with the pain is laying on my back. Like there were times where I would like be out at places, especially now since like the whole homeless thing, and the only thing that would actually help with the pain is laying somewhere on my back. But anyway, I'd either have to lay down and eat, and or I would have to take breaks. So like I would have to, yeah, I was definitely drinking oat milk then. But in fact, I had to stop drinking milk completely. I had to start just eating water cereal, which I'm sure that made things so much worse. But I had to completely stop drinking milk. But anyway, though, should I just use another example? I'm gonna say pancakes. There was this pancake situation too. So if you ever been in like American schools, you know that some schools will have those mini pancakes for breakfast. So I would have to take breaks eating those, and those are like really tiny. So I would eat one piece and I'd be in crazy amounts of pain, and then I'd have to like wait an hour, some minutes, and then eat another piece, and then I have to wait because the pain, and then eat another piece. That's how things were. And of course, I wasn't even digested any of this, so it just made things so much worse. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, since taking the HCl, I've realized that now that I've worked on my digestion, half my pain is actually coming from my colon and not my stomach. And it makes sense because along with the killing off of liver and thyroid and pancreas cells and the drugs destroying the gut lining, which can lead to, well, which does lead to leaky gut and autoimmune disease. The turn off the bowel side effect also leads to a lot of people becoming chronically ill after getting colon cancer and IBD and stuff like that because the bacteria build up, your colon being stretched, and it just makes sense that like after a couple years of me having 30-day bowel infections and stuff and a whole bunch of bacteria building up and the whole thing with the laxatives that a lot of my issues would stem back to my colon. In fact, it's believed by definitely not mainstream doctors, but it's believed that most health issues really start in the intestines. Some people say the gut, others say the colon, but definitely health issues start in the intestines. In fact, a lot of your serotonin wait a minute. I almost said serotonin syndrome. A lot of your serotonin, or not a lot of it, I think all of it is made in the gut. So really, if mental health professionals really believe that mental illness is a physical thing, they should be fixing people's gut health, but that's another story. Okay, this is really long, so I gotta go ahead and say this last thing. So, how to know that your health is going downhill? Blood work coming back crazy. Blood work commonly doesn't really say anything and comes back normal when you are like really sick, but sometimes it could say a little bit of something. So, blood work coming back crazy, migraines, headaches, change in bowel movement, stool becoming pale or really light colored or yellow. That means you can't digest fat or protein. Diarrhea. That means that you either can't digest anything or you're digesting stuff too fast. Acid reflux. Contrary to popular belief, if you have acid reflux, that actually means that you have low stomach acid, not high stomach acid. And something that I've thought about myself, I haven't heard anyone else say this, but there's a lot of reasons that you could end up with low stomach acid, but there's not a lot of reasons why you would ever have high stomach acid. Oh, what was the other thing? Constipation. Oh yeah, noticing that you have a lot of undigested food in your stool, that's another red flag. Blood in your stool. Weird color changes, weird just bowel movement changes in general. That's like, you'll probably notice that before you even notice other symptoms. Stomach pain, colon or bowel pain. You know if the pain is in your colon or bowels because of when and where it happens. You have to know the stomach quadrant. So like lower left or lower right side pain. Well, lower left abdomen or lower, or is that pelvis? I don't know, but if the pain starts a while after eating, so like before you have to use the bathroom, when you have to use the bathroom, or after you use the bathroom, that's colon. Fatigue, sleeping all the time, which this girl mentioned this, and this is also an issue for me. Like, when you're not getting enough nutrients and when your body's just fighting like illness, you're gonna be sleepy and fatigued all the time.